Cheers, everyone. Dave Brown here with the New Populace. Thank you again for joining me. Last night, we had the latest round of indictments against Donald Trump, this time in Fulton County, Georgia. And it wasn't just Trump indicted, but also members of his team as well, lawyers and campaign advisors. Now, of all the charges that have been levied, from the charges in New York to the federal charges in Washington, D.C. and in Florida, these are probably the weakest ones and the most ridiculous of the four. And that is saying a lot because the previous three are pretty weak and pretty stupid. But this district attorney in particular is pretty much a moron, and what she is citing as evidence for potential crimes in the filing is frankly just stupid. But that is where we're at in 2023. The Democrat Party is completely unmoored from any sort of rational behavior. They don't care anymore. They will do anything, and that's what I've been saying for months now. That should have been clear to us back in 2017, 2016 with Russian collusion. And when Alvin Bragg filed charges in New York, I mean, that was the Rubicon right there. They crossed over. And once that happened, future indictments were inevitable. And, of course, they were with the following three. And the latest one being this case down here in Georgia. Now, how are Republicans responding? Specifically, how are Republican commentators responding, conservatives? Well, on Twitter, they are all asking the same question, and that is, what are Republicans in Congress doing to fight back against the Democrats? And so far, it seems the answer to that question is nothing. But here we have Charlie Kirk. He tweeted out, Republicans did nothing about Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Andy McCabe, James Comey, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and the list goes on and on. Republicans doing nothing. And just to make the point, Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, he tweeted out this: justice should be blind, but Biden has weaponized government against his leading political opponent to interfere in the 2024 election. Americans see through this desperate sham. And the top reply was from Libs of TikTok, who said, what are you doing about it besides tweeting? And that seems to be the problem for us Republicans, is that the only thing that Republicans in Congress do is tweet. They don't actually take any substantive actions. So that brings us to the question, are Republicans weak? Are they cowards? Are they incompetent? Or are they, what I've been saying for a very long time, and I brought up in several of my videos, are they complicit with Democrats and the deep state? And when I say complicit, I don't mean that Kevin McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi are hugging it out and good friends behind the scenes. They may not like each other. They may not get along very well. But when it comes to protecting the uniparty, they cooperate. And that should have been clear to us back in 2017 when we had Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House and the many Republicans back then who were openly saying that they supported the MAGA agenda, but behind the scenes they were working to kneecap Trump and stop him from getting things done that we wanted done. So it should have been clear to us for a very long time that this was happening and that we have this uniparty here where Republicans say one thing publicly, but then do nothing and behind the scenes do something else. And another thing that I think supports this is the case of, or is what Jack Smith did in Washington. Now, Jack Smith clearly is a hatchet man. He's not a nice individual. And he really has no reason to modulate anything he does. Obviously, the charges both in Washington and Florida were bogus. But for some reason in Washington, he did not charge Trump with rebellion or insurrection, which is something that a lot of people have pointed out. Why wouldn't Jack Smith charge Trump with these two things? Because that is U.S. Code 2383, which says whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid and comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. Now, one reason put forward as to why Jack Smith didn't charge Trump with this is because Trump clearly said, be peaceful and go to the Capitol and have your voices heard, but be peaceful. But I don't think that's the reason, because all of these charges, again, in all four of these places, are bogus. So why not just charge him with this? He has a judge who hates Trump's guts. I mean, absolutely hates him. And he has a jury pool that would convict Trump for jaywalking, for littering, for anything. It's almost a foregone conclusion that this trial in D.C. will end in a conviction. So if Jack Smith knows that, why didn't Jack Smith charge him with rebellion or insurrection? And here's why. Here's what I think is going on, perhaps, not 100%, behind the scenes and why he didn't use the statute. Just yesterday from The Hill, this article. GOP sees turnout disaster without Trump. Republican strategists are worried that if former President Trump does not secure the GOP's presidential nomination next year, or if he is kept off the ballot because of his mounting legal problems, it could spell a voter turnout disaster for their party in 2024. GOP strategists say there is growing concern that if Trump is not the nominee, many of his core supporters, who are estimated to make up 25% to 35% of the party base, will take their ball and go home. Now, they say 25 to 35%. I think it's higher than that, much higher actually. Brian Darling, a Republican strategist and former Senate aide, said there would be significant political fallout for Republicans if federal and local criminal prosecutions derailed Trump's path to the nomination. If somehow he's not the nominee, it will hurt turnout, he said. He's got a unique coalition. He brings a lot of non-traditional voters to the Republican Party, and it will be difficult to win a state like Ohio and other Midwestern states if you lose all those Trump voters or make them disaffected voters and they don't show up. So what are Republicans in Congress worried about? Are they worried about Trump winning the election? Not at all. Do they like Trump? No. In fact, would they rather see Trump lose if he were the nominee? I think in a lot of cases, yes. But what they're actually concerned about is what happens if Trump were prevented from being on the ballot. They think if that happened, enough Trump voters would sit it out and cause an absolute electoral landslide that could completely wipe out the GOP in the House and Senate. And that would give Democrats a supermajority, and they could do anything they want. Anything. That is what I think Republicans are really scared of. So they don't want Jack Smith to prevent him from being on the ballot. They don't care if Trump is convicted, if Trump is kicked around, if Trump is just dragged to the dirt. As long as he's still on the ballot, because the voters and the voters vote for him and nominate him, that's what they care about. Now, would they prefer that DeSantis or Haley or Scott or Pence get the nomination because the voters pick them instead of Trump? They would absolutely prefer that. But if the voters do want Trump, besides all the things that are happening, they want the voters to have the chance to still nominate him, because if that is taken away, that won't just prevent Trump from being president, but it will completely crush all the GOP members in Congress and all these worthless Republicans in the House and Senate. They would have to go find a new job, because the Democrats will now have God knows how many seats they could get in the House if Republicans sat out. Maybe they have, 300, 350. It could be absolutely devastating for the Republican Party if that were to happen. So I'm not saying this will be the case. If we've learned anything the last several years, we know that anything is possible. But I do think behind the scenes, Jack Smith, special counsel, Merrick Garland, and Republican leadership understood that while they could convict Trump of a crime and try to hurt him in the polling and try to sour him for voters, they couldn't forcibly take him off the ballot, because that would be something that could fly back on the GOP and hurt the McConnells and hurt the McCarthys, specifically the House, actually, because obviously the Senate, their elections are every 6 years, where the House members, every election, they're up. And that would scare McCarthy and Republican leaders. So I think behind closed doors, it was understood you couldn't go that far. We'll see if I'm right. I hope I'm not. I hope that Republicans finally grow a pair and we start swinging. But if the past is any indicator, that's probably not going to happen. But we'll just have to wait and see. Well, that's it for now. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.